In 1895, one accidental discovery would go on to save over 1 billion lives. The man who made it wasn't trying to save anyone. He was alone in a dark lab on a Friday night. And something started glowing that had absolutely no reason to glow. Würzburg, Germany, November 8, 1895. A Friday night. A physicist is alone in his lab. Everyone else has gone home. On his bench, a glass tube wrapped in black cardboard. He switches it on. No light should escape. None. And across the room, on a bench he is not even looking at, something begins to glow. Before we go any further, 3 questions this video is going to answer. 1. What was Röntgen actually trying to do that night? And why did a glowing screen terrify him? 2. Why did his wife look at the result and say, "I have seen my death"? 3. How did one Friday night in a German lab change every hospital on Earth within 12 months? Let's go. 1895 was the gold rush era of physics. Electricity was being tamed. Scientists across Europe were in a fierce race to discover what the universe was made of. The hottest topic? Cathode rays. Send electricity through a sealed glass tube. Something invisible shoots from one end to the other and makes the glass glow. But nobody knew what it was. A wave? Particles? Something new? Wilhelm Röntgen was studying this, like everyone else. He was methodical, private, not a superstar. Just the kind of scientist who repeated an experiment 50 times before believing the result. And crucially, the kind who noticed things others dismissed as noise. That Friday night, he covered his tube in black cardboard so no light could escape. Everything was sealed. Everything was controlled. Nothing was supposed to glow. He switches on the tube. He is looking at the tube itself, watching for the effects he expects. Then something catches the edge of his vision. About a meter away, on a separate bench, a piece of cardboard coated in a fluorescent material, sitting there, unused. It is glowing. He turns off the tube. The glow stops. Turns it on. It glows again. He moves it further away. Still glows. He moves it into the next room and cracks the door. Still glows. Whatever is coming out of that tube is passing through cardboard, through air, through a closed door, and still hitting that screen. This is not cathode rays. Cathode rays cannot do this. This is something nobody has ever seen. Something with no name. He calls it X-strahlen, X-rays. X for unknown, the mathematician's placeholder for the thing you haven't solved yet. Then he moves a cot into the laboratory and barely leaves for 6 weeks. December 22nd, 1895. 6 weeks after that Friday night, Röntgen finally tells his wife Anna. He asks her to hold her hand flat against a photographic plate, exposes it for 15 minutes. When the image develops, Anna sees her own skeleton, her bones perfectly outlined, and on her finger, the wedding band she has worn for decades, sitting against the bone like a ghost. She stares, then says, "I have seen my death." In 1895, seeing your own skeleton was not a medical procedure. It was something that happened when you died. That image, Anna's hand, becomes the first medical X-ray ever taken. The world is about to go insane. Röntgen publishes his findings, December 28, 1895, 6 weeks after his discovery. Within days, the paper is reprinted across Europe. By February 1896, just 2 months later, X-rays are already being used in hospitals. A doctor in Birmingham locates a needle in a patient's hand. A Vienna hospital finds a bullet in a soldier's leg without cutting him open. By the end of 1896, X-ray machines are standard equipment on 2 continents. Nothing in the history of medicine had ever spread that fast. But the cascade had a shadow. Nobody understood yet that radiation could hurt you. Early operators worked with no protection, some for years. The injuries came slowly: burns, ulcers, cancers. The technology had arrived before the understanding of its dangers. In 1901, Röntgen receives the very first Nobel Prize in physics. He donates the entire prize money. And he never patents the X-ray, believing scientific discoveries belong to humanity, not to whoever stumbled across them. So, the 3 questions. What was Röntgen trying to do? Something boring, narrow, not world-changing. He was just being careful about something small. Why did Anna say she had seen her death? Because in 1895, the only time you saw a human skeleton was in a grave. She saw the boundary between the living and the dead, and it was wearing her wedding ring. How did it spread so fast? Because the need was already there. Röntgen didn't create the demand. He accidentally handed humanity a tool it had been waiting for, without knowing it. But here's what stays with me. Röntgen was not the only person working with cathode ray tubes in 1895. Dozens of scientists had the same equipment. Some had almost certainly seen something glow unexpectedly. They just didn't stop to look. What made Röntgen different wasn't genius. It was that he noticed a thing that didn't fit and refused to explain it away. Every day, in labs around the world, something is probably glowing that isn't supposed to. The question is not whether the accidents are happening. They are. The question is whether anyone is paying close enough attention to notice. If this made you look at something differently, you know what to do. See you at the next spark.